Hi, I am Cesar Santos. As you know, I graduated from the Angel Academy in 2006 and I'm back now with my main instructor. You taught me from the first bar, the first project. I was so lucky because the more people that come to the school, the less attention they can get from the main instructor here. So I was so lucky to have you, man. And you transform my perception as an artist and how I use my tools to represent the visual world. It was so magical. And I want to take an opportunity because I keep getting requests from people. Talk about your studies. Where do you study? What is the Angel program? And I felt that it was best if you would describe it. Thank you, Jered.
Fantastic, Cesar. It's so great to have you back. You know, you're one of our great graduates and you've made us all so proud. So it's fantastic to see you. And now you're coming to Florence almost every summertime, yeah?
Every year, yeah. I
That's
cannot stay away from Florence. It meant so much to me. I just coming here, I kind of revise in my mind the process, the educational process. Even if we become professionals, it's important to keep us grounded in whatever the foundation was that built us. So that's why I keep coming and I'm glad to do it. So,
and of course the artistic atmosphere of Florence, yeah? There are paintings, there are frescoes on street corners, little devotional scenes, yeah? You can't walk more than 20 meters without seeing some great architectural piece, some item of beauty. It's a special city, this, yeah? The cradle of the Renaissance, yes? This is where this city really changed art history as we know it.
Can you tell us a little bit how the whole program is set up and why?
To start at the beginning, the traditional program always begins with work from the flat, we say, yeah? So this is copying drawings, copying things, because a new student needs to understand how this illusion of three dimensions is created on a flattened two-dimensional surface. In the old days, you know, when Michelangelo was a student in this fair town long ago, Michelangelo was copying Masaccio's frescoes in the Brancacci Chapel in the Church of Santa Maria del Carmine. They're still here. You can still see them and study them yourself. But usually it was the student would be copying some of the master's drawings, the master of the studio. Yeah. So as you can imagine, these drawings would be quickly worn out with time, being handled and pinned to boards and things like that, much to the annoyance of the master, who would have to make new drawings for the new students. Yeah.
Wow.
So rather, it was thought that some way of reproducing a drawing would be good. So you can always just make more when the old ones run out. Yeah. So first there was woodcuts, but they're kind of crude, you know. Later there was etchings. Someone like Anthony van Dyck made a bunch of etchings about how to draw hands and how to draw faces and how to draw eyes and things like that. And there was always this little step-by-step kind of procedure. Yeah, you start with this simple shape, then you add something more onto it, and you get to the final product. After etchings, lithography came into being. So then, with the process of lithography, there's much more subtlety that was possible than just with etchings. And different sets of these introductory drawings were made, especially for the new students. Now, by this time, the academies had grown. It was not just the old apprenticeship system. So there was a lot of students that all needed these materials. Sets were made specifically for the new students. And again, there was always something that was, this is how you begin, and then the final drawing. Now, fashions in art, of course, change. And it was thought that by the time we got to the mid-19th century, that some new drawings were needed for the students, you know, because the old ones were looking a little bit dated, you know, kind of attractive calligraphy and nice line work and tight cross-hatching and that sort of stuff. So rather, it was thought that someone should make a new series of drawings, completely afresh, that were not about some prettiness of style, but rather just focused on the simple, solid strength of these introductory drawings. Yeah, the basic fundamentals of what the student is supposed to learn, how to create these simple, solid forms. So Charles Bargue received this new commission. Charles Bargue was a protege or a colleague of Jean-Léon Gérôme back in 19th century France. And he made this new series, actually 3 different series of drawings that were designed for new students. Now, the main series that we use is the cast drawing series. Yeah, Bargue also made a figure drawing series and a master drawing series. But it's the cast drawing series that we use for the new students, because this set is arranged in a certain order. There are simpler drawings that just have a clean outline, a shadow shape, and a relative minimum of halftones, just a little bit of transition, and that's enough to create the sensation of form. Yeah, that's how important that transition between light and shadow is. Then as the drawings progress, they become more sophisticated, more complicated. There begins to be more of a range of halftones to describe the modeling of the lights. Later on in the more advanced drawings, there's a range of halftones, there's a range of values also in the shadows, and there's probably a lot more smaller forms and details. Now, details by themselves just take time, but what's really impressive, what is awesome, is how to contain these details within the scope of a larger governing form.
Even the ones that you said that are more advanced, they're still extremely simple for the people that don't have put that into context, because they still have no background, a value to contrast it, and there's still a lot of missing details that are in nature and we shouldn't put it. So even these advanced ones are still lacking a lot of stuff. Simplification is meant to be present every time.
For two different reasons. For one, because these are didactic tools after all, right? They're things that were designed to teach students a point, about how to create these illusions of form. So the illusion of form is paramount, and everything else is extraneous. It's left into the background. But as a second idea, because it seems that everyone in the world is capable of seeing details, and beginners' drawings often reflect this. A beginner will never hesitate to put a line around every toe just to say, I saw that there were all 5 there. So, but we know that. But the artist, you see, rather knows how to simplify, knows what not to put in, or knows what is better simply to suggest, as opposed to clarify. Just like having a discussion, it's not necessary to enumerate every small insignificant fact. That would be boring.
So storytelling is the bigger picture.
That's right. So it's the point that the art is trying to communicate that needs to be focused on, not all the little other things. All the little other things would just get in the way. They would hide the essential point of the artwork.
We do this with just a pencil, because it's enough to be interpreting all this stuff and copying and analyzing it, so you don't need to deal with complicated tools. So it's basically with a pencil you can solve all these problems. And then after that, what happens? Then you go to a more advanced tool, no?
Yes. So, because after this, these basic ideas have been understood, and the student does a few of these introductory drawings, but again, they're in a particular order. Then these lessons, we want to move to the cast room, to now a 3-dimensional object, as opposed to just copying from the flat from 2 dimensions. We now have to apply this information from this actual thing that's in the round, drawing in the round as opposed to drawing from the flat. Now we use plaster casts because, well, when they're white, so we don't have to worry about
hue,
things of color, and possible misunderstandings of the form. And also they're matte, they're not shiny. So because shiny things, they have a highlight, you have to darken the rest of the lights to accommodate an additional value range. So rather, with the plaster cast, they're simple, they're solid, they're white, and they're matte. Now, what's more with plaster casts, they are generally taken from recognized artwork. So in this sense, the student is not just studying the variations of light and dark, the variations of chiaroscuro, as we say, but they're also studying art, and that's a big point of it as well. I mean, think of it. Otherwise, we could I don't know, paint a little bowl of fruit white or something like that, and they just draw that. Well, but there's more to it than just drawing a white thing, right? It's about learning again how these great artists of the past, because we all have to learn from the past. No one comes out of nothing. We don't just appear out of a vacuum. So rather, how these artists of the past have simplified their forms, for example, or how they've accentuated certain characteristics to make a more convincing product. Something that's not just a copy of a model
of a white thing,
right? But was made into essentially a work of art.
While you're analyzing these effects, you're already copying something that was already filtered by an artist. So you're copying a work of art.
What it is that is the difference between simply, let's say, a photograph. So a picture of a thing that was as real as possible, at least as real as a simple machine like a camera can produce, versus what elevates something past that mundane realm and into a higher field. This is, after all, supposed to be an art school. Yeah, it's not just a Xerox machine laboratory kind of thing. Anytime that one changes a medium, and this does involve a change of medium. Whereas, as you said, with the bark drawings, the introductory drawings, they're just graphite on white paper. Yeah, so very simple, and everyone has held a pencil before, and that's not a difficulty. So rather, when we deal with the plaster casts, we're now working with charcoal. Yeah, so natural vine charcoal, again on a white piece of paper. The medium is still relatively simple compared to a lot of other things, but still many people maybe haven't worked with charcoal, and they don't know how to spread the material appropriately. They don't know how to create an even tone. They don't know the difference between the blocking in of certain value structures versus let's say the refinement and finishing. And there are different tools that are involved with charcoal that perhaps weren't involved with graphite pencil. So whenever we change medium, we should keep other traumas rather suppressed. Yeah. So the first plaster cast, would be something simple. We have casts of an eye or an ear or a little nose and mouth or a foot or a hand or something like that. Yeah. Because after that, after that first charcoal drawing is done, then we can move to something more complicated, something more interesting, a full bust, let's say. So also with the charcoal drawings, we are then introducing a background, whereas before with the bar drawings there was no background. It was just the white paper background. Minus a background, it's kind of it's more simplified, obviously, and it's a little bit more diagrammatic. With a background, we can then get into edge qualities, which gives us a possibility of communicating something that's more atmospheric. Yeah. With a background, we can also create a sense of depth, of space, of things that are closer versus things that are further away. Yeah?
Is that why the first one is almost like hanging all the time, like flat? So you have a shorter distance to represent, and then the more complicated ones, then they get a little bit more space in the back.
Yeah. Again, one stage, one lesson at a time. Right. This is a building process after all. Yeah. Building one's skills and one's understanding. Yeah. So it would be unfair and also overly daunting to kind of toss a student in front of something that's super complicated. Where do I start? And then I'm going to have to be here for months because I'm just figuring out, and there are all these complicated things. Well, rather, if we take things one step at a time, then each new lesson, let's say, is not so very insurmountable. It's something new, and it's important, and it's added to the base that we've built before, but we're getting there. We're getting there,
growing,
step by step. After that, then we begin with the painting program. Before, we've been talking about drawings, the bar drawings, the cast drawings, charcoal, graphite pencil, but now we get to oil paint, and this is again a change of medium, and there are new things to learn. So we would go back then to a simpler plaster cast, as opposed to the more complicated ones, and we first begin working in grisaille, and so that just means with grays, with a range of just gray colors. We don't have to deal with different local color shifts and that additional lesson that's coming up. But rather we can deal with the mechanics of oil paint, the underpainting, overpainting procedures, the preparation of grounds, the different mediums that are used at different stages of the painting process. All those new technical things, because there's a lot of them, and there's a lot that students need to learn at this stage. Before dealing with the next lesson, which is color. Now with a color plaster cast painting, initially one thinks, well, how many colors could there be? Right? It's a white plaster cast. But one is surprised what a range of color there is in these white plaster casts. There are warmer lights and cooler halftones. There are more golden reflected lights in some of the shadows. There are even odd suggestions of greens and pinks that may be in there. And all these things, which of course have to be subtle enough so it still ends up looking like a believable white plaster cast. There are reflected colors based on other things that are in the environment. And that's not to mention, that maybe the plaster cast might be on a wooden table surface. So,
or with a drapery of some color reflecting or
something. Exactly. So, color is a big new lesson, and we start again with the white plaster casts to introduce the students then to this new world of color, but also to sensitize them to its subtlety and fluctuations.
Color has to be subordinate to all the values. So all these projects took you to a point that the color is the least important thing in a way. Like it has to be subordinate to the values that you're putting. Start with the white cast, so you're adding very little color, just enough to give the sense of life, of natural presence. But then even you apply it with a figure, because otherwise we say figures, high chroma, everything is super high chroma and painted. The values taken little by little, such a long period of time, controls your color. By the time you start with color, automatically you are controlled.
Well, this is from a traditional point of view. You know, the main current of Western art has embodied these values. It has created these values, I suppose. If we're talking about postmodernism and impressionism, well, one of the impressionist things was to say, I don't really care so much about form and structure and solidity and that sort of stuff. I care more about color and the juxtaposition of different colors and how they seem to blend together to a greater or lesser extent when viewed at a certain distance, and all these things which can be very interesting. It's not my cup of tea personally, but that's a wonderful thing that we have nowadays. There are lots of different types of art forms, and one can choose what they're interested in. That's great. But for those that are interested in learning the traditional process and how to create these kind of results, well, that's why people come to the Angel Academy of Art.
I think the main difference between this structure, the system here, and other schools is the system of the big four modeling, that the flat, like you guys divide everything so structurally that helps the student. It's like a guide. Even for me, when I paint, I still use it.
Well, it's one thing to say that when one is painting, one's painting, yeah, and one's concentrating on making their work of art, and of course that's true. But you know, to learn about painting and to learn how to produce these excellent artworks, one has to deconstruct things a little bit, yeah. It's like when people say, "Well, Sargent was a great painter, and his paintings were very brushstrokey, so I'll make a lot of brushstrokes on my painting, and it'll look like Sargent, right?" No.
Nah. Yeah.
So it's a big difference. There was all this structure that was behind things, and someone like Sargent was so great that he could take these essentials, yeah, and put his own stamp on it. I mean, that's what exactly. That's what great painters end up doing. You know, that's how it works. To be a great painter is different from being a great student. At student life and student level, yeah, one has to be studious. One has to examine these and study these individual components. Yeah, one has to learn the appropriate sequence of when to do different things at different phases. What one is intended to accomplish at each phase of the process, yeah, and just focus on that, accomplish that wonderfully well, and nothing else, and then again, it's a building process, just like building an artist, a painting is built from with a certain structure. So student does 2 plaster cast paintings in full color, and then moves on to still life painting, because with still life now we have a range of different colored objects, yeah. Now we have different colored objects, but also we have different textured objects, yeah. So the difference between, let's say, a silky drapery versus a more satiny drapery, you can see the difference of which is velvet and which is something else. So what is it that makes it look like that? Or even if let's say I give you a wine glass, yeah, and then with my other hand I show you a plastic wine glass of exactly the same shape, you can still see which one is glass and which one is plastic. So if you can see the difference, if you can see what it would feel like, then it must be possible to paint what it would feel like. And these tactile qualities of different objects is one of the very new and technical things about still life painting. That we didn't encounter perhaps in plaster cast painting, but though sometimes we get a hint of it, as you say, maybe there's a drapery background or a table surface or something like that. Yeah. So we kind of start in a little kind of way, but then still life is all about these different colors and tactile values. Now with still life also we get into a range of composition as well. Why is it that this should be there and this should be here, and what is supposed to be the center of attention, and how do I attract the viewer's attention to what is supposed to be the important part, and how do I detract, let's say, attention to areas that are less important. So this is about composition. What makes something more balanced versus something that seems imbalanced or inharmonious. We also get into some degree of color composition. Yeah, what different colors, what different materials should I be looking for that will go with this thing that I want to paint? It's very possible, of course, to again paint something that looks very realistic, but that doesn't look very good. Yeah,
and the hardest part, I think, for the student, and by the time they get to still life, they're already they control that. It's the natural instinct of focusing, and whatever you focus on becomes the middle tone. So you see details everywhere, and that was such a good lesson with still life, because you see maybe you can put something with details in the background and how to simplify and give the sense of details without in the painting calling the attention as much as maybe it does in nature. So you're telling the story to the viewer in a way that they cannot experience even if they encounter the still life in person, because it's like you're telling them how you felt about it, or decision making that made you know, look at the structure. It's very interesting to.
Yes, and I mean, again, we are artists after all. Yeah, we have to make decisions and paint selectively. It's not about painting everything equally after all. Yeah, if one is looking at a scene, maybe I don't know, one's outside and painting a landscape. Well, when you look at the tree, you can see every little leaf that's on the tree, and every little knob of bark that's on the tree, and all these little blades of grass, and puffs of clouds. And all those sort of things. But if you try then to paint every little detail just as it looks when we're looking here, and then we're looking at this thing, and then we're looking at that thing, and then we're looking over there, it's going to look like such a mass of details that it actually will not look realistic anymore.
Yeah.
It will take away the realism, because that's not actually how one sees, really. So one doesn't actually move about their daily life and examine every little detail of the world.
That's true.
One takes a glance at this and a glance at that. Your eyes go to what you want to look at, what's supposed to be interesting. You have a peripheral vision that's progressively more blurry.
Yeah.
And we can't focus on more than one thing at a time, actually. Now, we can change the focus to look at this and look at that, but when we're looking at any one thing, that's not really the way it appears. Bear in mind that also we are bifocal organisms. So, whereas a painting is painted from a single point of view, when we're actually looking at something, yes, this is in focus, this is visible, but other things may be blurred or doubled even. These are ways that in a painting we can recreate the experience of vision and the experience of enjoying, let's say, these things that we're looking at, or this scene, or this person that's pictured, or how we can be involved in this story, more than simply a recollection of details.
Yeah, reporting what was there. For those who are listening to this and they're saying, so when is the figure coming to place? You know, because we have studied all this, but can you tell us about the reference, go back and forward?
Sure. Well, when the figure has always been in place in this program. Now we're talking about these projects that one goes through, but the work from the live model starts in the first week, and it goes through the entire program. In fact, half of one's class day is devoted to working from the live model. The other half is dealing with these projects that we're talking about.
So whatever we learn in the projects, you apply it. So when you're doing the simple ones, then you apply that same mentality to the model, right? You
Exactly.
take it grows with you.
Simultaneous, yeah. So these two things progress simultaneously. So when let's say a student is working with the bar drawings, graphite pencil, white paper background, then they're also working with the live model with their graphite pencil and a white paper background. Yeah. So charcoal with the Plasticast, charcoal with the model, grisaille also. Then one is painting in grisaille with the live model, and full color from the Plasticast, and from there on means also full color with the live model. So 3 hours in the morning, 3 hours in the afternoon. One is dealing with projects, one is dealing with figure. Yeah, and that's just the standard class day. Yeah. On top of that, then there's the evening sessions, in which one student can sign up for other things that they may like to do. Maybe they want to have extra time with the model. Okay, well there's short pose classes, and there's also long pose sessions. Yeah, so these are in the evenings, an extra 2 hours after class is over. Maybe one's interested in portrait work. Okay, there's a portrait group that meets twice a week, again for 2 hours after normal class hours. There's an extra anatomy course that's available after class hours. These are all extracurricular things. And then the school is still open until 9 o'clock in the evening. So because people want to work with their projects, yeah. One's rate of progress is based on what one does. You know, one has to be somewhat self-motivated. Yeah, one gets out of this is as much as one is willing to put into it.
Yes.
You know, that's pretty cool.
Thank you so much, Jered, and for this presentation and also for teaching me. Most of the things that I say on my vlogs are from here, as they know, like what you have described here is such a strong foundation. Thank you for your passion to show and teach this type of education that is so valuable. So thank you for creating such an amazing school. I'm so proud of it, and I say it everywhere, so thank you so much.
Absolutely, Cesar. Great, and we're so proud of you. Keep up the good work, yeah?
Thank you. Cheers. See you next year.
You got it.
Let's wrap this video up. Jered is incredible. His knowledge for the retina will make you painting three-dimensional.